the value is in the human, right? And so when you expand human capital more, it's not just permanent placement, it's not just recruiting, it's also cultural fits, making sure that organizations have cultural responsibilities. It's also making sure that there are international responsibilities as well too.
Hey, welcome to 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis. We're a father-son leadership podcast where we talk with other lifelong learners about making an impact and solving big problems. And folks, if you notice, those of you are longtime viewers of the show will notice that I'm always looking off over this way. I'll be doing that a little bit extra today because we're getting rain in Colorado, and it doesn't. We ain't like some parts of the country. When we get rain, it's special in the summertime, especially. Not quite as bad as Camden down in the desert, though, is it?
I gotta show you. I just saw a video a buddy of mine sent me of a kid running out and getting in the office chair and spinning around in the rain in the middle of the street in Tucson. It's like people don't know how to act out here when it rains. Right? It's a very special thing. Just go out and enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, it's been raining in Texas a lot. So, because I'm based in Texas.
A
lot of rain. And it's all over. It's the Hill Country. It's Houston. I've even heard out in West Texas, it's raining a lot as well too. So
really, geez,
the Midland area. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's because Midland's got about the same weather as Tucson. So that's
no kidding.
Wow. Well, there's. The good Lord will put the rain where he wants it to be. And that's the way we just have to deal with it, right? Sometimes you got to put a raincoat on. Sometimes you sit on an office chair and spin.
Sometimes you got to dig a canal to bring that rain out to the desert.
Yeah. Well,
I think that fit in your analogy there.
Well, there's a whole nother subject that we haven't done our water episode in a long time.
No, we have not. Oh my gosh. Well, folks, go back and find that water economics and all those kind of things. Oof, that would have been, 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
Yeah.
That was COVID times we were talking all that water stuff.
Yeah, we dove into the water stuff. Well, I will reel us back in to deal with our good friend, Miss Tracy. And folks, if you know Tracy like I do, and she showed up, game on. And
I know we gotta go grab some Blazers, Dad.
I know.
When in Rome.
Yeah, because I know Miss Tracy and she's just Tracy all the other time. Today she shows up as Miss Tracy. So Tracy, it is so good to see you.
It's good seeing you. It's good to be here. It's good to connect. It's good to meet your guys' audience, be on your platform, and just super appreciative of the opportunity.
Great. Happy to have you and want to know why the hell you want to deal with people. What did you get dropped on your head when you were a little girl or something? What?
So there is a story in my family. There's a rumor that I drank bleach when I was like 7 months. And the story goes,
your brother didn't feed it to you?
No, he didn't feed it to me. I have 5 older brothers. They didn't feed it to me. But the story goes, I was crawling. My mom was soaking my dad's shirt in bleach water, and I sucked on the shirt and then was passed out. So whenever...
That's where all the good ideas came from.
That's where they all come from. So whenever Tracy, how you know me, Otis, when that Tracy shows up like this, the joke is there bleach involved? That's kind of like the family joke. So, no, I wasn't dropped on my head. I just have always had a passion for people, always had a passion for adding value to whatever space that I'm in, always had a passion for like accountability on both sides. And
explain that. What do you mean by accountability on both sides? What do you mean?
So accountability on both sides in respect to what I do right now works as the employee, we hold the employee accountable, and we also hold the employer accountable. Me specifically, how I hold the employer or the client accountable is by making them sign things that lets me know that they share the same core values as I do. Our thing is we do things ethically and efficiently. And so we have a whole kind of like client ethics portfolio that they have to sign, saying that they adhere to the ethics that we and the morals that we share in respect to how we operate in business and how we interact with our employees. So just to kind of take it a step back, this will be a great time for me to kind of tell you guys what it is that I do. And all that good stuff. So my name's Tracy Noel. I own Aion Worldwide, and we are a human capital firm, right?
And it's Aion with an A.
It's Aion with an A, and it's actually Greek, and it means timeless, because and we'll get into like the relationships that we build in Aion. They're not transactional 100%, right? They're very relationship driven, and that kind of plays into the different type of clients that we do work with, because we don't want the client that's we don't want the client that wants something transactional. We want the client that wants a relationship that is a long lasting relationship, right? And so saying that we are a human capital firm means nothing, right? Like, what does that mean? What's human capital? Like, what does that even mean? At the cellular level, what human capital is adding value to the people that are in your organization, right? And valuing the people.
Tracy, I'm gonna push back on you because I don't like the term human capital.
Why? Why don't
because
you
it makes me think of humans as commodity.
Mm-hmm.
Capital is money.
Mm-hmm.
Money is a commodity.
Mm-hmm.
And
do we not provide value as humans, Dad?
And
I like human capital. That's the econ in me. I like it.
There you go. There you go. And the more you dive into human capital, yes, the name can be, I understand kind of like the conflict with the name. But once you dive into human capital, what you see is exactly what you're saying, Camden. The people, the humans that are in the organization, that's where the true value lies. It's within the people, and the people that operate, the people that keep the organization going, the people that make the organization functional, the people that make the organization profitable. The value is in the human, right? And so when you expand human capital more, it's not just permanent placement, it's not just recruiting, it's also cultural fits, making sure that organizations have cultural responsibilities. It's also making sure that there are international responsibilities as well too. A new project that we're working on is a international company that's coming into Houston. And although we are not placing any of their employees in Houston, our growth in it, or our portion in it, is explaining to them culturally, this is how you do business in America. And it's not just payroll, W-2, W-4. It's what are your employees expecting from you as an employer from a human perspective? They are expecting PTO. They are expecting bereavement. They are expecting to be off on Thanksgiving. They are expecting to be off on Christmas. They are expecting on their birthdays to get a birthday card. They are expecting these things because it's a cultural thing. And a great example of an organization that understands kind of like cultural responsibility is HEB and what's going on right now in Kerrville. While, it doesn't really matter like
folks, just so you know, this is being recorded on 10 July, and it's been 6 days since the flood in Kerrville, Texas. So that's what she's referring to.
Yeah. And so ironically enough, HEB was actually founded in Kerrville, Texas. So I'm sure that gives them more of it's no longer revenue driven, and it's no longer public perception driven. For HEB, it may just be, this is our home and we have to take care of our home. And so HEB has deployed a whole bunch of emergency efforts to make sure that the people in Kerrville are assisted in kind of like overcoming that. That's a great example of an organization that understands the cultural impact that they have. And It may translate in the future to adding revenue value, but what it does is it makes people trust HEB and it makes people feel good with working with HEB. And so going back to kind of like a new project that we're working on, we're making them understand that, yes, you want to hire 100 people in Houston. That's great. But you also have to be a good company. And only the companies that are good companies survive. If it's just a cash grab, that's fine. But again, we're not into transactional relationships, so we'll direct you to someone else. But if you're trying to dig deep and have solid roots, and then grow a tree that's fruitful for everyone, then reach out to Aion.
Love that. And the thing that comes to mind right off the bat is, talking about taking the time to, like you said, to dig deep, get those deep roots and to have that strong foundation for your business's future. That's something we talk a lot with Tribe and Purpose and the work we do on our side of things. The question I have then is, what do you do to encourage that investment versus my ag is going and I'm picturing all the crappy crops that go really shallow roots and it's like you can go real fast, but it's like they ain't going to survive a dust storm or nothing. So there's obviously a little bit of, people are going to want that quicker route. Everyone wants the quick win and those kind of things. Make the case for putting in that investment early.
Well, so the case for putting in the investment early, so I'm going to play devil's advocate, right? You only want to put the investment in early if you have a long-term goal. If it's just a cash grab, then, hire a business development team, hire a recruiter who's going to charge you transactionally, operate your business in 3 years, and then set it up for acquisition, right? Set it up for acquisition so that in 3 to 5 years you can acquire it. For my specific project, the question that I asked them was not necessarily what your 10-year goal is or what your 15-year goal is. What is the social impact that you would like in the environment or in the neighborhood or in the communities that you're coming into? What are you actually trying to do? And what changes are you actually trying to make in those communities? And then when I explain it to them that way, it piques their interest because now they have to ask real questions, right? It cannot be, well, we just want to come into this neighborhood because we understand that they have this much spending power. Mm-hmm. The conversation now
is the cheapest building we could find or whatever.
This is the cheapest building we can find. And we understand that in this area, the spending power is about $400 a month. So if we can get about 300 of those $400, then we're fine. Those are the conversations that we're not having. The conversation that we have is, we understand the spending power is $400. We would like to come into this community and then hire people to increase that spending power. And what they do with that is fine, but we want to increase that spending power. And then, of course, because they're organizations and it may not be profit driven, but revenue is important. But then in that spending power, still collect a portion of that spending power. And that's where you can kind of explain to them that when you structure it that way, there are more advantages, right? So a lot of people don't know about tax abatements. If you go into a city and you reach out to a commissioner and you're a new organization and you tell them, I can guarantee 100 jobs, but the trade-off is tax abatements. So that's beneficial to the organization. And it's beneficial to the organization, but the commissioner says, I'm giving you this tax abatement, but you need to stay in my community for 15 years. And so those are kind of some of the things that incentivize the companies that want to stay long-term, right? You want to stay longer because 15 years is a long-term investment for any organization. When you look at commercial leases, they're normally like 3 to 5 years. So 15-year lease is a very long investment. And so the only way you're going to sustain outside of that 3 to 4 year window is if you set deep roots. And so you can be a warehouse, right? And you can go into an area where a lot of like low skill workers are there. But if within that warehouse, you're also providing additional training, you're going to get people that are going to be loyal to you and they're going to be committed to you and they're going to want to work with you because you have also advanced them and you have also added value. And that's kind of like the importance of the human capital space and that's where the accountability comes in because the client, you are accountable. You will add value to the neighborhood or the community, or to the people that are working to you specifically. And of course, the employee is going to add value to it as well, too.
So you said something that I think is great. And actually, I hadn't heard it. Probably since before the coronavirus pandemic thing was social enterprise. That was a big phrase, 2015 up to.
That's true. That I have not heard. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody was talking about, being a social enterprise company and giving back to the community. And then I guess the Rona happened and everybody circled the wagons and said, screw you, neighborhood. We're here to survive. Is that a Houstonian thing, or are you seeing? Well, I think I see it's a multiple choice, not an either or. Now that I think about it, is this a Aion thing? Like, we ain't working with you unless you social enterprise. Is it a trend that you're seeing, or is it more in the Houstonian sort of trying to get more community built, around the heights and stuff like that?
Yeah. So it's definitely Aion. We're not working with anyone.
Aion.
And
Let's say Aion.
You said Aion, and I was going to let it fly.
That's all right. Hey, what
right,
I told my rugby boys?
Tell me.
I say, if I mispronounce your name or call you the wrong name and you don't tell me that, then guess what your name's going to be? So,
it's Paul, but the whole time their name's Philip.
That's right.
I can't tell him.
We've had some of those.
Yeah. So it's definitely an Aion thing, right? We're very core value driven. It's definitely an Aion thing. We work with companies all over the world. Our first placement was with an oil and gas company that's based in Nigeria, Kenya, and also Louisiana. So it's not only in the Houston area. What I will say is Texas in general has the best small business mindset, if that makes sense, right? I've lived in Florida. I worked for the city of Chicago as a director for one of their departments. Texas has what I would like to say the mentality of the small business owner in Texas is 100% to add value to their people. You don't see that in Miami, Florida. I am from Miami. You don't see that in Miami, Florida. It's a cash grab. It's a show. It's a bunch of smoke and mirrors. In Texas, you see a lot of the owners of the company, they actually care about the people that are working for them. So I have an example of a client that I'm working with, and he was explaining the person that was in the position before that they're replacing. And he mentioned how when this person came into the organization, they were getting paid an hourly rate, and then now they're in the low six figures. But they explained that the person's husband had cancer, and so they paid for all the cancer treatment. And then they explained that they purchased that person's son's first car. And they kind of said all these things that they did. I think the person had a roof issue and their insurance company was giving them a hard time. So the organization took care of that for them. So you have a lot of examples in Texas and in Houston where the small businesses, they're taking care of their people, right? They're taking care of business, but then they're taking care of their people. And I think that's where my appreciation for business in Texas and my appreciation for hiring that back office, right? Let's hire a really, really good admin. Let's hire a really, really good accountant. And then I know I'm putting them in an organization that's going to take care of them, right? And so yeah, to answer that question, I see it a lot in Texas. I see it in Houston. But it is something that I hold very dear to me. I do run into potential clients and leads, and they're like, listen, this is all I need. I need you to find these people for me. I don't care. And it's like, yeah, we're not going to work with you guys. Thank you, but no thank you.
How do you? I'd love to dive into that a little bit more of kind of making that separation, because like even like right off the bat, you talking about being a people person, all those jokes we were making. I had this kind of funny thought of like, yeah, I'm a people person if it's the right people, and it's like there's a lot of truth to that. It's like, you know, going around, if you're working with the wrong people, that's not going to be a good time, even if you are a people person.
Yep.
And you know, you talk about the cash grab type people versus like the more like social enterprise, as you put it, Dad. How do you go about kind of testing that out and making sure you're, you know, flushing that out in the first couple weeks rather than going down the road with somebody and realizing that they're, you know, not a good person or anything like that?
Great question. And I'll answer this twofold. I'll answer it from Aion, and then I'll answer it how I tell my clients to flush out people, right? So for Aion, like I said, there's an ethics portfolio that they have to fill out, and that says that they believe and they hold the same values that we hold near and dear to themselves. If you don't share those values, that's fine. A way around that as well too, because you know it's a part of the engagement agreement. They're not reading every single thing; they're just signing and signing and signing. What I do to kind of weed it out is I have a conversation with them, and the quickest way to kind of like weed it out is through transparency. Very honest. What are you looking for? And you know, I like to start my meetings saying, "Hey, I'm a meat and potatoes kind of person. What do you want? What does this look like to you?" And they'll tell me, it looks like I just need someone. And if they stay for a year, then I'm okay with that. Okay, well, then this isn't going to work with us. So I give them the opportunity to kind of like put their foot in their mouth.
And not framing it in a negative way necessarily. So I think that's one thing I've noticed. Even the way you said the cash grab, it's like, go have your cash grab. That's over there, but you could go have it. And like, I think that's a key, because if you put too much pressure on folks, then their defenses go up and they're going to lie to you. And so I think that is a huge piece for people. Yeah.
Yep. I don't want you to lie to me. And so it's the same thing with candidates. When, you know, with my first company, we were in San Antonio, Texas. It was a facility maintenance company, and we had a lot of turnover. And so one of the things I said is I was like, okay, we're going to do group interviews. And we're just going to put everyone in a room. We're going to interview everyone all at the same time, not individual one-on-one interviews. We're going to put up a PowerPoint. We're going to tell them about ourselves. But what we're going to do is we're going to take a break and we're going to do a game. And in the game, it had cards, index cards, and they did not know that of the 8 index cards, 4 of them were our core values. And so we tell them, here's a game, partner up with someone, and pick whatever words resonate with you. If you picked 2 or 3 that were my core values, I'm hiring you. Because those are the things that you really believe in. So you really believe in hard work if you pick hard work. You really believe in clear communication if you picked clear communication. That's how you weed out the people that don't share the same values as you. That's how you attract the people that you like. That's how you can set up a culture that's going to be beneficial for you, because you're picking people that share the same values as you. Mm-hmm. And once we share the same values, it's going to be 10 million times easier to get to the goal, because we share the same values. You believe in extreme ownership. So if you are my admin person and I give you an accounts payable task, you're not going to tell me, hey, this isn't my job. You're going to say, give me a few days so I can kind of figure this out, and then I'll let you know. Right. So that's how and then, like you said, Camden, there's no undertone of judgment. It just is what it is, right? And
the game is designed in the way that there's other good values.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, but did you pick the right ones? That's such a big key, yeah.
Did you pick the right one? No? Okay, well, we have a great time. There might be other companies I can put you in contact with. This isn't going to work out, because our core values are extremely important to us. So that's kind of to answer that question. But yeah, that's how we kind of do it. There is a video, and I'll have to send it to you guys, but there is a video of a CEO of a startup company. And in the video, he's very direct. He's like, I'm looking for people that's willing to work. You're going to be salaried, but you're going to work more than 40 hours a week. And I don't care. And you're going to work on these days, and I don't care. And you're going to do these things, and I don't care. If this doesn't resonate with you, don't apply for this position. And so someone was on like a social media platform, and they were like, I can't believe in today's economy, this is how someone would act or respond. And most of the people who understood they were like, I think he's doing a great job because he's weeding out the people that are not going to fit into his organization. And that's amazing. That's a bit extreme on the spectrum. Like I have an HR background, so I know how to say it in the way. I know how to do a love sandwich. There's no love in that sandwich he gave.
And Dan, I saw you had a question ready, so sorry. I won't ask the question on this. I was just going to say, it's like, and I want to say it was Zappos, that shoe company, right? That it was the whole thing. They go through the training, and they're like, hey, here's 3 months pay. Go quit. And it's like, well, are you going to quit or not? You like the job that much, and trying to sell people on not taking the job. Yeah. But sorry, go ahead, Dan.
Didn't they go bankrupt?
I'm going to Google it.
I don't know.
I have technology. I'm going to check.
Because
everyone signed up for the training. When there was a Freakonomics on their system, and then somebody came in and broke it.
Yeah.
They're not currently bankrupt. I got a quick Google on that.
Okay. That would have been a good sticker from me.
Oh, that would have been so funny.
I was not hoping for him to be. I don't hope for any business to fail. By the way,
it's just such a fun example.
It would be. It would be. Who is your client? Because I hear a dilemma.
Who is my client?
Yeah, because
what's the dilemma that you hear?
One person's writing a check, the other one you love. So how are you? Who do you say? Yeah, I'll just leave it like that. Let you jump in.
So I'm going to answer the question how I think it's asked. So who is my client? My client is the organization. My client isn't the employee.
Okay.
My client isn't the person looking for the job at all. My client is the organization that's coming in to specifically either add value to an area, or they're already deeply rooted in the area and they're having issues with retention, or they're having issues with kind of like accurately depicting themselves to the community, right? Because that plays a part in how many people want to come and work with them, or how many people want to add value to them. So my client, the person who signs the check, it's the organization 100% of the time. 100% of the time.
Okay, so how does the Bubba that's applying, how does that person's wants, needs, roles fit in to satisfy your client? Because they're still a human, and you've already said that this relationship.
And so again, there's the commitment on the client side, and there's the commitment on the candidate side, right? So when they come into our system, and you know, everything is essentially a system. Once they come into the system, similar to the client signing an ethical profile, the candidate does that as well too. And on top of the candidate doing that game that I mentioned to you guys, the only thing that we've done to it is we've made it a Google form. And so we've asked them, what are your core values? Well, we asked them to pick what core values resonate with you. I already know what core values resonate with my client. If you don't pick the same, then you don't fit, right? And then, so we have a database right now. We have a database of about 3,500 candidates, right? So these candidates, we're constantly kind of like shuffling the deck, reaching out to them, seeing what they have going on, seeing if some of their core values have changed. So when Bubba, right, if Bubba has reached out to me for a previous controller position, I already know what Bubba's core values are. I already know that Bubba already has experience in an oil and gas company and kind of wants to stay in that oil and gas space. And I know Bubba wants to retire. So I know Bubba's going to give an organization 10 to 15 years, right, because of his age and what he's looking for. Or there's Sadie. I already know Sadie's been in the oil and gas space. She lived in Midland and now she's in Houston, and Sadie doesn't want to do oil and gas anymore, but she still wants to be in maybe like a logistics company because she has that kind of experience with those kind of people. So when a logistic company reaches out and they're like, we need a really good operations person, I'm like, okay, I think Stacy will work really well for you. And that allows us to place extraordinarily quickly because it's, again, we're character based, right? And so whenever we talk to our clients, you know, they can give me their dream list of 100 requirements. And I tell them, for us, the goal is 70%. So if you have a list of 100 items, we're going to place someone that has about 70% of the things that you're looking for, but they are 100% a character match, because you can teach 30%. You can teach that 30% gap. You cannot teach someone to come to work on time. You can't teach someone to value, being a pleasant person to be around, and things like that. So when Bubba reaches out to me, Bubba has a questionnaire to fill out, and it's not inundated the way some of these older index matrix systems are. It's really quick. It's a questionnaire. I think the questionnaire now is like 10 questions. And then they sit and speak with one of the recruiters that we have, so that we can have kind of like a character assessment. What are you actually looking for? What do you want? And and one of the questions we like to ask, in your next position, what would that dream position look like? What would that dream manager look like? What would that dream organization look like? And so that's how we make sure Bubba's happy. Because if Bubba isn't happy, Bubba's going to tell Joey and Charlie that Aion is in a good place, and that's going to be an issue for us. But if Bubba is happy, Bubba's going to go into the organization, and as that organization grows, Bubba's going to remember that Aion brought them there. So yeah, that's kind of how that works.
I think Bubba's going to be pretty happy.
Bubba's going to be very happy.
In order for him to be happy there, actually, there's another piece of it,
folks. That's why it's Bubba.
Yeah, exactly. But in order for Bubba to be happy there, that new oil and gas company in Houston, you're setting him up with, there's the character test, like you're mentioning, and to me, I want to dig a little deeper on that, because to me, the character test is a little bit black and white. There is, it is your good, bad. Those are the two buckets. They get in the good bucket, okay, then we can work with them. We'll find a good match, that kind of thing there. But in order for somebody to really connect with the job, connect with the team, there's all sorts of weird, funky other stuff that goes in. The X factor, intangible, whatever you want to call it. What do you do to try to measure that? Because by nature, it's freaking hard to measure, of course. Mm-hmm. That's the whole, business or science of behavioral economics and all those kind of things. Mm-hmm. But you got to try to make those matches. What do you do to try to make that work?
So outside of kind of like asking past experiences on both ends, right? You ask the client, this position, the person that's in this position now, what's their best day? What's their worst day? How do they feel? What are you looking for? And then also asking the candidate the same thing. When we set up interviews, we're watching the interviews for cues. We're watching the interviews so we set it up so that the direct manager for that person, that's who's interviewing you. So now we're looking for cues in the interview, because is the candidate intimidated? Is the interviewer intimidating? Is the interviewer being honest? Because I already know what your core values are. I've already asked you questions about this position. I've already asked you what your expectations are. So now, are you accurately translating this to the candidate? Because that's kind of like the biggest problem, right? Everyone knows what work looks like. Everyone knows what a 9-to-5 looks like. Everyone knows what a job looks like. And if you're already in the industry, if you're already in oil and gas, you know what an oil and gas company looks like. You know how if you're in a transportation company and you're around truckers, you know how they're going to talk. You know what comes with that. So where there's the disconnect, almost 90% of the time, is not living up to expectations. And so that's where we come in and try to make sure that the candidate is accurately representing themselves and the client is accurately representing themselves, because you never want a manager to say, oh yeah, it's rainbows and butterflies. And then the candidate is like, I am in hell, right? You never want that. And you never want the candidate to say, oh yeah, I can process QuickBooks and I can do this and I can do that. But they don't even know how to log into QuickBooks, right? So we do the background work as far as like verifying references and things like that. But what we do is we're also watching at that interview to make sure that both parties are accurately representing themselves, right? That's where outside of like the character, making sure like there's the character questionnaire, that's where most of the tension comes, because someone is not living up to some expectation. That's where that problem is. And so again, we make sure that the candidate is accurately representing themselves, and then the client also accurately represent themselves. But to both parties, we've already introduced each other already. So the client knows they have a background on the candidate, and the candidate also has the opportunity to get background information on the client. And we're asking both people, who's your dream candidate? What's your dream job? And so we're matching them with people who say, this is what I want. So now the conversation is there synergy? Is there fluidity? Does the conversation seem like these people will get along well? And a lot of times you can point it out. A lot of times you can say, okay, so again, because we look not only to place people, but we want to place people in good environments. So you can even pinpoint and say, hey, this manager is lacking leadership skills. Just by how they're asking these questions, I can see that the manager lacks leadership skills. And so that's when we'll pull the client back and assess it and see if there needs to be some leadership training. Because that
Tribe
also,
and Purpose.
with Tribe and Purpose with Otis, I know a guy. I know a guy. And that's when we kind of step back and assess it, because, the goal isn't just to fill positions. The goal is long-term success. So, things, that leadership, that noticing, the lack in leadership allows me to say, this is going to affect retention. So we need to stop. I don't want you to waste your money. I don't want to waste my money. Let me get you in contact with Otis. And then once Otis is done, we'll circle back. That's kind of how that works.
What's your feedback loop? After you've placed Bubba, everything we've ticked off all the boxes, and Bubba starts on
Monday.
August. Yeah, or Monday. Yeah, we can say Monday.
Bubba
Monday.
Starts Monday.
When you gotta go fishing this weekend.
Yeah.
Can't start yet. Come on.
You have to do something. Bubba starts Monday. So if it's a local client, I show up on Monday, right? I'm there, I'm here. Hey, how are you guys doing? If it's not a local client, Bubba starts on Monday. Bubba gets an email and a phone call. The client also gets an email and a phone call on Monday, and then on Wednesday, and then on Friday. And then on that Monday, I have a meeting with the client. How did the first week go? What does training look like? Whatever. At the end of that week, I have a meeting with Bubba. What's going on? How do you like it? How do you feel? Yes, no, maybe so. Day 30, I have a meeting with everyone as well, too. Day 35, I have a meeting with everyone as well, too. My agreements are different from normal human capital firms. Most human capital firms only do a 30-day guarantee. Us, depending on the industry, we do 60 or 90 day. So I'm interacting with everyone up until day 60 or 90. And then specifically to my client, I'm also interacting with them on, if it's a 60-day commitment, I'm also interacting with them on day 90. Then I'm also interacting with them in 6 months. And then I'm also interacting with them in 12 years, because 12 months, not 12 years, because the goal is to, right? Like 12 years, what's going on?
That's a good placement. Hey, Bubba's going to be there 15 years.
Like, who are you? Get a life. Yeah, but in 12 months, because I like to work with companies that are growing, and I'm placing someone specifically to 10x your growth. I'm placing someone to specifically 10x your revenue. So in my mind, in 6 months, when I call you, you're going to tell me she was the greatest operations manager, and because of her, I've been able to get more clients and get more contracts, and we've been able to grow. And then my conversation is, are you looking to place new people, right? Because it's long-term relationships, right? So yeah, with my clients specifically, I'm reaching out to them up until the 12-month mark, and then hopefully kind of like bring them back in for manpower assessments, things like that. But Bubba's starting on Monday.
What's one that you got 60? Have you had one 60 days in, 30, even just 30 days in? Because I always use that as kind of a measuring stick myself on things. About the 30-day mark, where the combination to the door now, and you're starting to figure out where the coffee is. And by 60, 90 days, you're like, I either love this place or I hate all these people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I used to work for a guy, and small business, and he said, I will try everything. I will try anything for 30 days. After that, not doing it anymore. And I kind of like the philosophy and the thought process behind that. What was your question again?
So if you had one that at that the further out where it was like something ain't right, whether it was Bubba or the client said,
I don't
no,
like
man.
talking bad about myself, Otis.
Say again?
I don't like talking bad about myself.
You're not talking bad about yourself. You're learning lessons there, lady. But you
Yeah,
won't do it
so
again.
yeah, so we have had it, and I currently have a client. I currently have a client who cannot retain or maintain their medical providers.
Mm.
And for the life of me, I have explained to them that it is a leadership issue. I know a guy, I can get you in contact with the guy, because providers who have spent 10 years in education, 12 years in education, they are not leaving a job in 6 months. That is never what's going to happen. So I do have a client who has that issue. And so we're kind of at a standstill because I refuse to place any more providers. But they have admitted that, your service is great. You found some of the best people for us, and we don't want to lose you. And so again, we're at a stand. We're at a draw. You either find someone that's going to figure out the leadership issue, or I'm done. So that's kind of like a more the closest experience that I have, I guess the most recent experience that I have, right? Now I do have a client, or I have had a client who called me on day 55 and said, hey, it's not working out. I said, okay. Asked them why it wasn't working out. And they said, essentially they felt that the honeymoon phase was over, which was fine. That happens.
Yeah.
And so when I spoke to the client, or to the candidate said the same thing. The candidate was like, well, I just kind of feel like the honeymoon phase was over. So I did initiate another search for that client. But my main thing before initiating that other search was, what does training look like? What does that first 30 days look like? What does that first 60 days look like? That I could kind of help them to make sure that the candidate isn't also reporting back, hey, the honeymoon phase is over, right? We want to make sure that it's a good match on either side, and we honor that. And just to be honest, probably shouldn't say this because my clients might come back 5 years from now and be like, you said this on the podcast. If the contract says 60 days, but on day 65, you call me and you're like, listen, this is not a good fit, we're going to work with you, because again, it's not transactional. I don't want to place someone that's not adding value. I do not want to place someone that is not 10xing your revenue or 10xing whatever your project is. And if you've realized that in day 65 or even day 70, we'll talk, we'll have a conversation, and we'll figure out what's the best way to move forward. But in the industry, it happens. And more specifically to me, I have a client who has medical providers, and it's a line in the sand. So you need to figure out what's going on over there, and then I'll figure out what I got going on over here. But sometimes it doesn't work out. And when it doesn't work out, because my commitment is to the client, just because my agreement is with the client. So I still go and I still try to put that effort in to say, how do we place someone? And then this time around, how do we place someone that stays? But to do that, you have to identify what the problems are. And it could be just really bad onboarding. It could be really poor training. It could be so many things, but the client has to allow me to kind of like come in and open and digest things. And then we can kind of go from there. But
Talking about those different pieces, and I hope I sound fine. I was playing with my dials here. The freaking A10s flew above head, and apparently it jacked my whole thing up because now I got background noise. And there was not background noise 5 minutes ago, so I don't know. But hey, sound of freedom. I thought all you military folks keep telling me they're putting those things out. They're not flying them anymore. Well, they're over my house every freaking day. All right, so
really?
they're still flying them right now. But so sorry for that, folks. Talking about where things go wrong, those different issues that you might not see coming. I'm curious if you could rate your confidence, not in your system, because of course you're 100% confident in your systems, what you see, what you measure, and all that. But what percentage of the problem set do you think those systems see? In the case of like talking about those things that could go wrong, do you think that's like that 10% chance, or what's left of there to solve might be a better way of looking at it?
As far as like systems.
As far as connecting the people to the right place and making sure that those things fit well, we're talking like those intangibles and those different things that are harder to see.
I don't know how to answer this question. So what are
Was it a weirder question than I thought?
It's kind of weird. So initially I thought it was like, what are some of the systems not seeing? And then I was going to kind of bring in AI and how AI is kind of like disrupting recruiting and the hiring process. I was going to kind of bring that in. But I think if I understand the question correctly, I think where the gap in the process of marrying the two people, right? I think where that gap comes, or where there is a gap in marrying the two people still today, is, kind of talking about that honeymoon phase. People will put their best foot forward under any circumstance, right? People, they want to show up as their best selves. They want to make a good first impression, right? And, our systems, our kind of questioning them on what their core values are, while that doesn't kind of like that doesn't allow us to see how much of this good person persona is actually just BS. It does allow us to see who they are at the core. But again, having meetings with people kind of like this virtually, that allows you to, and in their personal space, that allows them to be a bit more relaxed, right? That's why kind of Otis was like, whoa, who is this? Because I'm in my own personal space in the other times that we're meeting. So it's just like, it's a hoodie, it's whatever, who cares? But in a professional space, this is kind of how I am. So being very honest, if I were to go into a job, it would be a happy medium between Tracy when Otis and I meet on Thursday mornings and this person right now. And so you have to gauge that. So you don't want the pendulum to swing too much. It's going to swing, but you don't want it to swing too much. And so, having face-to-face meetings or having virtual meetings where someone's in their own personal space. And then when you're asking them questions, you ask them personal questions like, oh, what did you do today? Like how in the beginning, we were kind of just talking and we talked about whatever just came natural to us. You have those conversations and then you can gauge how interactive someone is, right? Because some people get into offices and they're just like a hermit. But if someone can't have a conversation about the weather, go away from that person, right? So I think the thing that's always going to be a problem when marrying a candidate and a client, I think what's always going to be a problem is when that honeymoon phase fades, who do you really have? And I guess we'll never know because, men still can't figure that out. So
you're outnumbered there, lady.
Don't go chasing that rabbit, Dad. It's a trap, all right? She's laying traps for you. Come on.
I'm going to bring it back to something that's come up with several friends of mine over the years, and the Dave Ramsey model for hiring, where it's like 8 or 9 different interviews, and the final interview is a social setting with your spouse and with Dave and his wife and dinner and all that sort of stuff. What have you found is the optimal? Because I got a friend right now who's going through an interview process that if I remember right, started in April. And yeah, there's been some.
Is that a university? That sounds like what the U of A hiring process is.
They do it too.
Sounds like executive searching. It depends on his position too. It sounds like it's like executive searching.
That one's executive, but I've also got another friend who
got all these friends.
Yeah, well, I'm doing that because I get confused if I start making up names to protect the innocent. But I got another one, and she's going through an interview process with like 3 different companies at 3 different stages of not even sure how many more interviews she has to have. It's the company is holding that close. And you don't know you have another interview until they said, hey, thank you for your time. We would like to move you forward in our process, here's the next interview.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like some of the shit I went through for selection, right? I mean, you don't know how many points you got to go to. You don't know how many interviews you got to. What have you found that works really?
So I feel like it's industry specific, and it's also organizationally specific. Some organizations have boards. Some organizations have, we talk about social responsibility. Some organizations have social responsibilities that are actually black and white, and it's written on paper. And so for them to adhere to those responsibilities, there has to be an additional interview where there has to be an additional hoop. At the 10,000 level, to answer that question, the best way is to be transparent. Let them know this is a 5-step hiring process. Let someone know it's an 8-step hiring process. And if additional steps need to be made, we'll let you know in the process. Let people know, because this is, we talk about Gen Zs and things like that. This is why there's the gap with Gen Zs in the corporate space. Gen Zs would rather start their own businesses or not necessarily work for, established corporations, because they don't want to, out of college, they don't want to do 4 rounds of interviews. They don't even have enough clothes. They don't even have enough blazers for 4 rounds of interviews. So it becomes cumbersome to them to hear, okay, well, we'll do another interview. And then after that second interview, there's an email saying, hey, can you, log in and let us and pick an interview date for your 4th interview. The Gen Zers are going to be like, yeah, who cares? And even some millennials are like that as well, too, unless you have a millennial that has sat in like a C-suite for a while, right? So, at that 10,000 level, it's, just be very transparent. What I like to tell my clients is you need 1 virtual, 1 face-to-face. That's all you really need. If you want, you can do 1 quick phone interview, then a virtual, and then the face-to-face. And that face-to-face, what we talked about is kind of making sure there's the match. That face-to-face, you bring them into the organization. You have them meet the admin. You have them sit in what would be their office. If that person is replacing someone, you have them talk to that person. You have them as soon as they walk in, you ask them, how was the drive? How far is this from your house? If they're like, oh yeah, it's an hour, but it's okay, they're lying. They're lying, right? But if they're like, oh no, it's right around the corner, like, that's not a problem, then that's fine, right? You ask them those questions. Or if they say, hey, so like I worked for a company that was really, really like outside of like the Houston area, and there was nothing around. And so the first thing that they brought up to me, they were like, well, there's nothing around here for lunch. And I was like, that's not true. I saw a Chick-fil-A like 5 miles away. And so the person who was hiring me, they said that showed me that you had already tried to familiarize yourself with the place. Okay, so if I get this job, this is where I will go and I have lunch. So it's things like that I like to tell, my clients, you do a virtual interview and you do a face-to-face interview and you make your decision there. I can tell my clients this because I've already done an interview. I've already reviewed, I've already checked their references. I've already done those things. If you're not working with a human capital firm, then the maximum is 3. And that 3 can be translated as the initial phone call of, hey, I found your resume. Do you have 5 minutes for us to talk? Because some people need to update their resume. You can just have some quick questions. And then that second meeting is an actual interview, right? Tell me, quantify your skills. Tell me, your experience at your last job, how many people you were managing, those kind of things. Tell me what your goals are. And then that third interview is to make sure they fit, right? And that's if it's a face-to-face position, which a lot of companies are kind of going back to that face-to-face space, right? I have one client who is trying to fill a hybrid position. So it's 3 days in person and then 2 days remote. But I think a lot of companies are getting themselves in trouble. And I think a lot of companies are kind of like putting their backs up against the wall with this whole, we're not going to tell them how many interviews, and it could be 7 rounds of interviewing. Because you got to understand too, some people see value in themselves. Some people are like, I have a PhD. I don't have to do all this. I can find a job, right? And some people are like that. And so now this organization has missed out on someone because they are trying to do 7 or 8 interviews. And it also can be an operational thing as well, too. Some people may say, a scheduling conflict and things like that. So some organizations, they may have to do multiple rounds of interviews to make sure everyone is kind of like on board with it. But at the
And
10,000 level,
some organizations will have you meet with every single person for no damn reason because they like to do it that way, and we're not going to name any names.
and those are the same organizations who have meetings that could be emails.
Yes, they
Don't
can. Well, that's exactly what I was thinking. That's why I thought of that, because we've talked about it before in the show, where it's like, if you're having too many meetings, reduce them by 90% for a week and see what happens. You'd be surprised how much stuff still gets done. Probably do the same thing at the interview process.
Yep. Yeah. But
Well,
I like
I tell you what, if you told me that about the Chick-fil-A, I wouldn't have hired you, because that means I'm paying you too damn much. You better bring a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and sit here and
what? They're not paying me. I have a master's degree. I got a master's degree. I have a military
then she gets a Chick-fil-A then.
Oh, you got a master's degree, so you earned a Chick-fil-A.
I earned it.
Is that what you say? You deserve it because you got a master's degree?
Yes. I deserve it.
Oh, good grief. That's something I learned that I didn't know, that a master's degree equates to a Chick-fil-A lunch every day.
Once a week.
I'll give you once a week.
Okay.
Peanut butter and jelly the other 4 days, right?
Yeah, I got to watch my carbs. So we're not
open face peanut butter jelly. Only one slice of bread.
And then fold it. And then fold it. No.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. Peanut butter and jellies are good. But yeah, you always want to, nothing's ever going to be perfect, right? There's no perfect human, right? That's why I love that, there's the emphasis on the word human. There's no perfect human, and all organizations are ran by humans, right? Yep. So it's all about relationships, and we like to make relationships pretty easy.
Yeah, well, and that's why the real thing that I learned. I love your core value multi-choice thing. That's such a great way to gain some insights to folks. Mm-hmm. I think that's really nice. I like that. Camden, how about you? What'd you learn?
Yeah, I think to me it's just a funny communication thing. As much as you were joking about it at the beginning, down of human capital, I don't like that, makes it sound bad, those kind of things. Tracy, at the end there, when you said human capital, my mind went to organ trafficking, and I was like, oh my gosh, and so I totally get what you're saying there, Dad. But that's one of those funny examples. You got to translate for the folks you're talking to. The big econ words, the big business words, big science words, whatever it is, translate to the folks you're talking to. Because you start talking human capital firms, people that don't know what a firm is, don't know what human capital is, they're going to think it's organ trafficking.
Yeah, they know what capital is. They know what humans are. What are we doing right now? That's kind of like, what are we?
They know kidneys are worth $5,000 on the street. They're doing the math.
What's happening with the black market and the dark web right now? That's kind of the thing.
That's in Tijuana, Camden. It's 5,000. Oh yeah. I'm telling you about a couple of other places I might know. You can probably get 7.
Hey, shout out to Trafficked with Mariana Fensweller. There you go.
Tracy, what'd you learn?
I think I learned, just based on the conversations that we've had, that, I think everyone kind of understands some of the nuances of bringing people on, and just the nuances of running an organization and finding, the right people to help organizations grow. But I think what's really, really cool that I learned is that, you guys know more than, or people know more than organizations think, right? People are noticing that hiring is taking more than 5 interviews. So people are getting frustrated with that. People are trying to figure out I want to be happy in my organization. And the organizations are like, I want this person to be happy, but how does that look, right? Like Bubba. Is Bubba a real thing? And also too, just kind of sticking to Bubba, does Bubba really get to be happy, right? Because you ask, what does that look like? Does Bubba actually get to be happy? And yeah, Bubba does get to be happy. And I think that's where a lot of my passion comes from, because, one of the organizations that I did work with, I absolutely hated every single day getting up and going to work. And it kind of just felt like, this is just what you do. You get up and you go to work, and you don't like your job, and you don't like the people that you work with. And I don't believe that to be true. I believe that you should be able to get up and enjoy what you do and enjoy the people that you're doing it with. So as much as I'm client focused and as much as I want to make sure the client, 10X is their revenue, I need Bubba to be happy, right? Because a happy Bubba is a good Bubba. In the Marine Corps, they say a happy Marine is a good Marine. And I need Bubba to be happy. So, yeah.
Yeah, and the only way you know a Marine is happy is because they're bitching and complaining about something.
That's not true. But
I want to add something real quick, Dan, before you segue, because I know what you're saying. Next, we've done 400 freaking episodes together. But no, I was just gonna say on that, Tracy. I think such a big piece to recognize that these two things that we talk about are not separate. They don't happen in a vacuum. When something happens and organizations are complaining about people not wanting to work, everyone over here hears that, and it goes back and forth and back and forth, and things change faster than we think. So you got to pay attention to those things. People know a lot.
People know a lot. People are seeing. People are
watching. They know more now too.
Yeah, because there's so much information available. So
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Tracy, how do folks find you? Look up Aion and bring you into the fold to help them find the right folks.
Yeah, so you can find us on the wonderful World Wide Web, AionWorldwide.com. You can find us on LinkedIn, Aion Worldwide. Me specifically, you can find me, Tracy Noel, on LinkedIn. And on Facebook, it's Aion Worldwide. And on all social media platforms, it's Aion Worldwide. So that's how people can kind of reach out. We're based in Houston. We do business all over the world. So if you go on Aion Worldwide, you can find us. LinkedIn is much quicker. Because if you reach out on LinkedIn, I'm going to just text you right then and there. Like, are you available for a phone call right now? Because I'm available right now. But yeah, that's how people can find me. That's how people can find Aion. So yeah.
And that's Noel with an umlaut over the E. So
with an umlaut, because my family is from Haiti. And so the Noel it has a French background to it.
Oh,
so.
I said it German. It's French.
Yeah, it's okay.
I was going to say, I'm so glad you said that, Tracy, because I was about to ask. I'm like, wait, I thought umlaut symbolized the E that's not there anymore from my German lessons back in the day. Well, so it's French. Don't overthink it. Cam didn't work good.
Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. It's like the first Noel, and if you want to be pinky in the air, it's pronounced Noel. So
I will not be doing that on the outro.
I quit French in 6th grade. That's all I
did. You? When my mom's upset with me, she yells at me in French, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what to do with my hands.
I love it.
Tracy, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. And thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. I really, really appreciate it. God bless you guys.
Camden, run us out.
All right. Thank you all for listening to today's episode of 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis. And a special thanks to our guest, Tracy Noel, for joining us today. Remember, you can watch full episodes of the show on YouTube at 10X Your Team. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to pass along to other lifelong learners in your tribe so that they can enjoy it too. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. As always, that full archive of episodes available at www.10xyourteam.net. Thanks again. We'll see you all next time.